Now, before we get down to this, I have a disclaimer for all you professionals. I'm an amateur. I am just a 9 to 5 guy who sometimes plays Souls games. It is my amateur passion to play these games. So, a lot of the gameplay you see is not going to be awesome. It's going to be a little amateurish. I'm probably going to use a mimic tier once or twice, like a filthy casual, but you know what? It's all in good fun, and I'm just going to give my opinion on a casually gaming level, you know? That's all. So yeah, and enjoy the show, and I'll give it over to voiceover me.
Shadow of the Erdtree is the first and only expansion to the critically acclaimed Elden Ring that was released last year. It was released on June 20th or 21st, depending on your time zone of this year, 2024. I will give you a spoiler alert for all the things that have to come. Me personally, I have gotten into 20 hours of this, and I have only gotten up to Mesmer, who is not even the final boss. But just saying, spoiler alerts up to that point. I do know what comes after, but I will not spoil what comes after. But spoiler alerts for any boss up to that. And let's get into review proper now. First, we're going to talk about the story. The story, as always with FromSoft games, is very convoluted. It doesn't tell you straight up what happens, but you can guess it from pieces of the lore that you find. I know that it involves Mikla, Marika, Moog, and the truth about what happened in the events of the main game. There's a lot of background lore about that. The greater kind of overall reaching plot is about Mikla and what he is doing now. It's very convoluted, but lots of NPCs will give you the greater context on what is happening. And it also shines light about what is happening in the main game and what is Mikla's in game for us. What is the deal with Mo? What was the deal with Radon? What is the deal with Melina? It does answer a lot of questions. And it introduces a few variations of the bosses you find in the main game. Not many, not a lot. It's not crazy reused. It's just that's just how it is. So yeah, and I think it's to its betterment that, but we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that when it comes to boss design. Anyways, let's get on to world design. One very interesting aspect about this DLC that makes it different from the standard game is its world design. Don't get me wrong, the DLC is really big. It's basically Elden Ring 2. It's almost as big as the main game. When Miyazaki said that it was the size of Limgrave, he kind of lied because it's much bigger than that in reality, especially when it comes to vertical movement. It's open world like the original game, but it's a lot more twisty turny than the Elden Ring. With Elden Ring, you had a big open world that had individual dungeons, but with this one, a lot of the individual dungeons, in fact, lead to other parts of the map. This is a very Dark Souls 1 kind of thing, where it's an open world and each dungeon kind of leads to another part of the map. It all comes in on itself. For instance, you have to go to Darklight Catacombs and defeat Inquisitor Jory to get to the Abyssal Woods. Like you have to go through that to get to the Abyssal Woods, which is a very Dark Souls 1 way of doing level structure. So it's actually different than the original game, which I do like. I do like a little difference. It's very good. It's a lot more vertical. It's a lot more vertical than Elden Ring. Elden Ring was a little vertical, but man, this one is very vertical. You'll be laying on top of mountains and saying, going all the way down the valley and say, how do I get down there? There was a couple times where I was trying to find a map marker and I had no idea where the heck it was. And I got him. I had to look some of the stuff up because I had no idea. So yeah, basically, you look down, you see, how the heck do I get there? And it's actually very convoluted. In fact, in typical FromSoft fashion, there's a lot of secret passageways, mostly through coffins. Yes, there is a get in the coffin moment that I would not have found if not for a guide. I got him. I did use a guide in some of these parts because the world design stumps me a bit. And there's also holes in the ground that you can jump through to get to the lower parts. It is counterproductive to me to jump to holes in the ground. So I really had to have a lot of courage when I went in to jump in random holes in the ground. But yeah, random holes in the ground will get you to where you're going sometimes. So feel free to jump in some of the holes in the ground. Other than the base game, holes in the ground almost always meant death. But here, now you can go. It helps you get to the next passage. Now, let's talk about some of these boss designs. And woo-wee. And of course, the main draw of most FromSoft DLCs are, of course, the bosses. Some of the best bosses in the games were from DLCs. The Ivory King from Dark Souls 2, the Artorias the Abyss Walker from Dark Souls 1, and of course Gale, Midir, the twin, the twin demon princes, the demon prince. Yeah, that's right for that one. And things like Sister Freed all come from DLCs from Dark Souls 3. So these are, yes, the hypes is true. These are some very hard bosses. In fact, some people may find these a bit too hard. They are very nuts. In fact, I have heard, I've not gotten to the final boss yet, but the final boss is crazy difficult, even with summons, even with Mimic Tier. These bosses will really kick your butt. And it's really hard to fathom. A lot of them are very fast, and I do mean very fast. Now, a lot have very long windups to their attacks, and overall, it can be difficult to judge the timing. I have beat a quite fair few of them. I have gotten up to Mesmer, so I have defeated all in all the Dancing Lion, the Golden Hippo, Relina, not Renala, Relina, that's a different person, Mesmer, and Gaius. I think Gaius was his name, the commander. But yeah, these bosses are all very hard. I've not defeated Bale yet because he sounds very hard. I have fought him once and got destroyed immediately. And the whole mechanism that allows you to defeat these very hard bosses, even with these new Game Plus weapons, are the Shadow Tree fragments. There are no new smithing stones or any new upgrades released in this DLC except for the Shadow Tree fragments and the Revered Spirit Ashes. The whole gameplay revolves around you going around the world and finding these, which I don't have a problem with that because the Sacred Tears and the Golden Seeds were very much the same. The only problem here is a lot of these can be found just about anywhere, and there are no redundant ones. There are just as many as you need, which kind of sucks. Unlike the Golden Seed, they were pretty obvious where they were, and there were redundant ones. So if you missed one, it wasn't that big of a deal. And Sacred Tears, we're always at churches. The big problem with these, with the Spirit Ashes and the Shadow Tree fragments, or the Skidoo Tree fragments, I like to call them, because they're spelled kind of strange, is that they're in places where you might not expect them, which I think is a big hindrance to people trying to play the game. I think if they made the Shadow Tree fragments in more obvious places, I think less people would have a difficult time, but the system's good in concept. I think the execution was a little flawed, but hey, that's okay. I hope FromSoft will learn from their mistakes in this one. Yeah, but the bosses, yeah, they're hard. You're just gonna take your time. Don't expect to beat these bosses in a weekend because you will not. You will not beat all these bosses in a weekend. So just take care, take it slow, take your time. Don't be afraid to summon if you want to. I have summoned quite a few times, as you've probably seen from my gameplay. So you know what? Just don't worry. Don't worry about it. Yeah. All right, let's get on to the conclusion. Shadow of the Erdtree is a FromSoft DLC, and similar to other FromSoft DLCs, it is a step up from difficulty in the main game that can sometimes get hard, and I mean ridiculously hard, and maybe a bit too hard for some. But I think the only way to know is to try it yourself. It's well worth your money for it. It's about 40 USD, which is not bad, and it basically gives you a whole second game, which try getting that from another developer these days with all these microtransactions and penny pinchers. So basically, giving you a whole nother game for $40 is a steal in this economy. So if you have the base game and you like the base game, buy it. It is well recommended to have as your add-on DLC. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I reviewed the DLC and back to live action.
So yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts. There's nothing more to be said about this. I may make a follow-up video when I finally complete the whole thing, but those are my thoughts for now. I just want to thank you. My last Elden Ring / Dark Souls video got over 200 views. Good, that's great. I love that with you, you know. Yeah, I wish we could keep doing that. Like my next video to get to triple digits. I would really like that. I'm not trying to do anything crazy here. I'm just a guy who makes videos in my off time. So you know what? That's fine. We're all good here. And, you know, hit subscribe, hit that like button, hit the bell button. I guess, I don't know if you want to. I'm not forcing you to. It just would really be nice to me, you know? No folding chair for this one because I don't want to bring the folding chair all the way out here. I'm like half a mile away. I don't want to drag a folding chair half a mile away. Winter Wigs, have a good day. Enjoy some of this extra footage I shot. I'll see you later. Trying to find some place to go for my next video. Is trying to find somewhere with some decent shade because it's hard to see this phone. And you know, I'm sure I'll find something through these endless fields of dandelions. I was hoping I'd see some cows, but I guess they're just not here today, you know? Yeah, whatever. Maybe we'll see them next time. They must be on the other side of the pasture today. I wanted to show you some cows. That could add some interesting stuff. I'm going to go say hi to somebody, so, you know, I'll see you later.